full quiet. The mission of Mohawk Consultations is to support the interrelationship of all life on Earth and practical means for sustainability. A very wide mission. Keith Smiley, a cousin of mine in 1980. Keith died in 2001 at the age of 91. And I thought in terms of the topic of today, I thought I would mention a few things about Keith. Keith was a very well-read, well-traveled, and quiet-spoken man, and his leadership style was inspired by what he called leading from behind. And it was inspired by his belief system as a Quaker, a practicing Quaker. He was a proponent of the ideals of servant leadership. And that was first articulated by a man named Robert Greenleaf, who was, I think, in high management position in AT&T for 40 years. And he wrote about servant leadership in the early 70s. This is a philosophy where leaders prioritize the needs, growth, and well-being of their team members above their own. The servant leader is servant first, then conscious choice brings one to aspire to lead. He recognized that people who carry out a project must be part of the decision-making process. He prioritized reconciliation and consensus building. These principles were built into Mohawk Consultations' mission. He feared overwhelming damage to Earth's natural systems and the defeat of human purposes that could result in scarcity and loss of civil freedoms. He rejected the dominant belief in an unlimited abundance of Earth's resources and the ability of science and technology to overcome all problems. But rather than accept, quote, the option of doing nothing or attempting to restrain or abandon technology and basic amenities, Keith believed that groups of people working together could perceive relationships between all the various parts of Earth's ecosystem, could relate with Earth and each other, and with the cultural patterns of other people, and could change perspectives and values, could alter attitudes and feelings, and could transform our physical environment with much greater care. And this was his model for Mohawk Consultations, which has been offering programs here for 45 years now in this model. So on your way in, you may have seen the newsletter. Please feel free to grab it. You can look at our website to see all of the various programs we have offered and continue to offer here. When Keith retired from Mohawk Consultations in 1993, he shared 3 core ideas that formed his life's work. Number 1, there will be no peace and justice until all people are free of hunger, basic disease, and the threat of annihilation, and have the right to be involved in their own decision-making. 2, the well-being the well-being of all people and the well-being of the planetary ecosystem cannot be dealt with separately. And 3, achievement of the process of self-determination by local groups or nationwide or worldwide groups requires a special style of leadership. I, for one, feel very grateful to be here today, a descendant of Keith, and a continuer of his legacy, and a fellow servant leader myself. I look forward to the possibilities that will emerge here today and the encouragement toward much greater care for our world. And with that, I'd like to introduce Eric Gullickson, grandson of Keith, who is the president of Mohawk Mountain House.
Good morning, everyone. So, yeah, we're related. Thankfully, that's a good thing. Yes. welcome everybody. It's great to be up here again. I had the fortune of being up on this podium for one of the last programs on consultations put together. So thank you, Louisa, and everybody else at the consultations board, Brad. And we are going to continue to foster the legacy of the consultations organization and my father's vision, and how important it is to include and have the synergy between what is the hotel resort business, and then in addition to the mission of the consultations and the consultations board. And furthermore, that will be the case, and I think we will, and we need to acknowledge that and continue to work at it and continue to maintain relevance. And so I just wanted to say that to all of you, and that how proud I am and we are to continue to foster that in whatever role we play, whether it's family, board member of consultations, executive in the business. And so with that, I thought what I would do today, and I think it's topical, is share a short story, a personal story for me. This is about 35 years ago. I was in and out of college. This is after high school, and in and out of college, sort of feeling my way in life, like many of us did at different times. And I was also bike racing too, and trying to make a living bike racing. And at that time, very few people made a living bike racing. So I had to. So I was subsidizing that by working on the side. I was doing carpentry with my father and my brothers, and I was fortunate to be able to do that. And we were on this job site. Well, we did a lot of small jobs like renovations, decks, and kind of like repair work, kind of work things in the area. And we were on this job site. It was along this sort of rural road, and we were working on this fascia and soffit of this house. And this particular house had this really kind of ornate fascia detail, and we were trying to replicate that. And over several days, we were making progress. And one day there was a truck that kind of was rumbling by on the road, and this guy yelled out the window. He was like, "Woo, looking good," and we were kind of, we just didn't think much of it, and the truck rumbled by. Next day, the same truck goes by, and he yells out again, "Oh, the progress is great. You guys are looking good," and just kind of rolls on by. And we're, whatever. We're just thinking, okay, this guy's a little bit enthusiastic and kooky, but we just kept on, going. And then next day, that same truck pulls in, and this guy gets out. He's a little rough around the edges, and we're just like, why is he stopping in today? And he comes over, and he's very friendly, and we're pretty focused, and he asked to borrow our circular saw because he's doing a job up the road. And we're like, okay. We lent it to him. We said, I hope we get to see that saw again, And he said he was doing some stonemason work up the road. We need the saw. So anyway, how this was relatable. So he returned the saw. But meanwhile, and as noted, I'm in and out of college, and I was at a point in my life where I had gotten realizing that I wasn't going to make any money bike racing, and really I enjoyed the pursuit, but it wasn't going to be a career. Carpentry was not something that I wanted to necessarily continue to pursue. So I recognized that I needed to stay in school. And so I had enrolled in classes. And one of the things that had been a vulnerability for me since the very beginning was mathematics. And so I was not able to, one of the reasons why I was in and out of school is I recognized that I was to matriculate, I needed to have you needed algebra 100 to then move. Even if I was studying English, I needed that discipline. And for me, that was a vulnerability. And I recognized that, okay, I needed to get through this if I'm going to continue to pursue this. So I enrolled and took like a math 099 course, which was not even credit. It was daunting because I would have to get through that and then take algebra to get the credit to then move on and study what I ultimately was hopeful that I could study and wanted to study. So there I was, like, trying to reconcile that. I got into the course, and I was sitting in the class, and I'm a non-traditional student, so I'm 5 or more years older than the rest of the students that are in the class. They start filing in. I get there early because I'm very anxious. And so the students start coming in the classroom. And, you know, they're younger and it makes me even more anxious to how this is going to play out. And I'm exposed because I don't know anything really about math except what I studied in high school. And then as I'm sitting there watching the students file in, this stonemason guy comes walking in the room in the class. He's got books in his arms and he comes walking up. And I'm like, oh God, this guy's in this class. But he walks to the front of the room and he puts his books on the desk, the teacher's desk, in the front of the room. And I was like, that totally flipped my mind on what, like, you know, leadership and, you know, it just all my perceptions. Of course, I was thinking in my mind, this person should have a tweed jacket with leather, you know, elbow pads and all the things that come with your perception and what you learn to be your perception of what leadership and teachers may be. And so that unto itself was like a mind-blowing thing. So fast forward, this guy was a major mentor in my life. I got an A in the class. I got an A in my next math class, which was not he didn't teach it, but he set me on a path. And I think my point, and was I think topical with the subject and why I think likely many people are thinking about and want to be thinking about leadership is, for me, it kind of leveled it to a place where leadership, you define what it is, but in this case, it was mentorship. This guy was not trying to be something that he wasn't. He was, and in my mind, I had kind of diminished him perhaps. Like he was going to come in the room and he wasn't going to be the professor, but he changed my life. And so I think it's in this way, I think it's really important. And from that moment on, I started thinking about leadership in a more topical way, how important it is to think about what the attributes are as an individual in leadership, and how it's so much about, like Louisa was saying, Grandpa Keith thought that, you know, like, you know, servant leadership. This professor, this individual, this stonemason, this quirky guy he was fully leaning into himself and feeling comfortable with his ability to, and his knowledge and interest in the subject, and was able to connect with me and all the other students in the class. And I think that, for whatever it's worth, to me, is an important aspect of leadership, like not to think of it as something that you aren't. It's something that you are, and you have to make sure that you tap into those things and those strengths and lean into those things and not be ashamed of them, and build strength from those things, those individual intentions that you have within. I think most of us have them innately because we learn them. They're fundamentals. That's when we're young, we learn these things from our parents. You know. So I am thankful that you and the consultations board and are focusing on this subject. I think it's really, really important to take it as a topical focus, especially now and today. And I think I'm hopeful that you all have a great day and learn a lot from each other. And thanks for the opportunity. One thing that's nice about starting with a moment of silence, as Louisa did, and as now Nina Smiley knows, wherever you are in this room, Nina, it's not just about an outer silence, sound. Ultimately, it's about an inner silence as we get as close as we can to that inner silence. And then that allows us to be more open and receptive to impression. The kind of impressions might get just when we talk, whether they're at your table or up here. Okay, thanks to everybody for coming out here early on a Sunday morning, especially you younger folks from SUNY and Bard, maybe don't usually get out so early on a Sunday morning. And hi to all of you folks who are watching this online, whether you're in Poughkeepsie or in London. Hi, Maite. And want to thank Mohawk Mountain House and the Smiley Brothers Incorporated, who make it possible for Mohawk consultations to live here and do this work here. I'd probably be doing similar things somewhere else. But to be able to see it is a gift, so thank you. Also want to thank the people who helped us plan this conference, like Louisa, and also board members, which you could stand up, Kara Lee, and Marty Irwin, who's despite being ill. Thank you, Marty, and a couple of friends of Mohawk, Rena Zorowski and Martha Little. Thanks. And I don't think she's here, but thanks to Lisa Mittens from SUNY New Paltz, who does sustainability coordination there, and brought a whole bunch of students. We really wanted to have as many younger folks as possible here. You know, that all those lines about, you know, the hope and future. So I'm curious as to how you folks heard about this event. So I'm just gonna ask for a few show of hands. How many people know about this because they got emails from us? How about people who just happen to randomly see it on our website? Okay, and did anybody see it advertised in any of the local newspapers, Bluestone Press, the Chronogram, or anything? Okay, well, how about word of mouth? Okay, that's helpful to know. Okay, so we designed this program on leadership to be pertinent to leadership in all domains. I know that a lot of people got attracted to this conference because leadership in the political realm has become a really hot topic, no matter what side of the issue you're on. And Mohawk Consultations does have this past tendency to avoid sensitive topics related to religion or politics. I don't think that's really necessary anymore. We need to talk about what's really meaningful and important. And that's really one reason why a lot of people don't know who we are. We don't have a clear identity. They either think we're part of the preserve or the mountain house. And that's understandable, but also we do something different every year. We look around and see what's happening in the region, in the world, and choose a topic that's really hot, that's really important to people, and that could be useful. So we have a motto, let's talk it over at Mohawk. And part of our mission also is to bring people together of perspectives. And somebody asked me if there will be Republican people here. And I said, you know, we didn't vet people. I didn't ask the speakers of political affiliations. We do tend to get a progressive kind of group, but if we're going to have diverse opinions, then we should have people who think differently. And that's why it's good to disagree better sometimes. So, you know, we invite you here to listen, but not just to us who are up here, you know, listen to each other. And we hope that our programs will galvanize and inspire you to take action. Because if you just come here and sit around and listen to us and talk and go home, forget about this, well, what's the point? We hope we will inspire you so that whatever you do in your life afterwards will be something related to this and something useful to the planet. So please make use of the opportunity to network with each other. We are going to have a coffee break, there'll be a lunch break, a couple of roundtables, there'll be a lot of opportunity to interchange ideas and meet people. So because of that, because of the opportunity to interact with each other, this event is really what you folks make it. I mean, we, the organizers and speakers, come here and do this, but this event is about you all. It's not really about us. We're just making it possible for you all to have this experience. Okay, to get more directly connected to the subject matter, just a couple of quick quotes. The leader has the capacity to bring out the best in others. Leadership ensures that the group's innate promise will be activated and that its purpose and destiny will be fulfilled. The function of leadership is to produce more leaders, not more followers. And this one's Martin Luther King. A genuine leader is not a searcher for consensus, but a molder of consensus. And there's one from a couple thousand years ago that I like, where there's no vision, where there is no vision, people perish. So My vision for today, however idealistic and grandiose it is that somebody here, perhaps a young woman, will be inspired and in some way that I'll just imagine out loud now, might get involved studying leadership, might become part of some organization where she moves into a leadership position, and then her career progresses, a few more leadership positions, and suddenly she's working on an international stage, maybe about international relations. And this person becomes known around the world for her work on unity and in positive international relations, and maybe becomes the director or the Secretary General of the United Nations, and it makes an incredible impact on the world. So we did want to emphasize not just what leadership is about, but also recognizing and supporting leadership potential in others.